Yeah, so I'm about to have a baby in 1 week, 1 day, or if she comes on time. I'm counting on the fact that most of my family have been late, including myself. I came, I think, a week late. But yeah, it's getting really real. In the next fortnight, I'll be having a little baby girl. Drill and I met when I was a graduate, and he had just finished his graduate program and came into the room to be a buddy for one of our graduate cohort. And when he walked in, it was that sort of instant, oh, who's that? We both met before we were Christians, both of us, and then 6 months later I became a Christian, and then probably 6 months after that he became a Christian. So we've been through this journey together, yeah. My mum's Ukrainian, my dad's Belarusian, so naturally, I was baptised as a Russian Orthodox as part of that tradition. My mum and dad wanted the best education they could give to my brother and I, so sent us to private schools which were both Christian schools. So I went to a Presbyterian school, and I just remember there was one person in my class, Emily, who just knew everything. She went to church and I just knew I could never be like Emily. High school, we got our first Bible, and I got that Bible and I still remember I wrote on it, I love God. And at that point, I was very disciplined growing up. I was doing 24 hours a week of gymnastics and really just structuring my timetable minute by minute actually. And I remember on Sundays I scheduled some time to read the Bible, and I tried to read it cover to cover. Got somewhere very, very early on in the Old Testament and gave up. I was quite structured growing up because, so as I mentioned, my mum's side's family is Ukrainian, my dad's side's Belarusian. They both migrated after Second World War, and my dad's side, my granddad was very, very, he really wanted me to go to the Olympics for gymnastics. So for him, I really wanted to perform to, I guess, please him, but also to show that I loved him. And then for my grandma, it was all about academic performance. So she would try and incentivize me to go well at school. In order to achieve that, I felt that I needed to, as I said, train up to 24 hours a week doing gymnastics, and then I had other sports on top of that, plus trying to get over 90% for all my subjects. Yeah, so 2012 I set myself a New Year's resolution. I said, I believe, but I want to know why. I shared this resolution or quasi-goal or whatever you want to call it with my buddy at work, and I said, look, one of my goals is that I believe, but I want to know why. And she shared with me that she's a Christian and she's happy to talk me through any questions I have, to walk through the Bible with me. And so we started meeting up weekly. June that year, I did my first 24-hour race, running around an oval for 24 hours, and that would be the point where, yeah, I encountered God, yeah, in that race. I started off moving to ultra marathons when I was 19. Started off with 12 hours and I moved to 24 hours. So I went into the race having my physio say I shouldn't be doing this. I had an Achilles tendonitis, and he said, this is the worst thing you can do. But I went ahead and got there on the start line and started running. So I went in with that niggle, and about 2 a.m. you've been running for 16 hours around a 400-metre track. There's nothing you can really draw upon inside you. You're feeling broken, and for me it was when I prayed, and that prayer was where I encountered God. And the verse that I remember, it was Isaiah 40:31. Those who hope in the Lord shall renew their strength. And yeah, in that moment, it was freezing, I was walking, I got this renewed strength and I started running and came out of that race. My injury was gone. It was, a real encounter and healing from God. That was the start of my ultra running journey that I've been doing ever since, and also, more importantly, that was the start of my relationship with God that, I've never looked back on. When I encountered God, the big change for me was just knowing who I am. So up until then, achievements were what defined me. So I would be disciplined in order to achieve. So my identity was a function of my achievements. So I'd always need to achieve more and more and more to be valued more and more. And when I encountered God, I realized that my identity is the same irrespective of what I do or what I achieve. As I look back, I think that we as human beings, particularly human beings in Australia, oftentimes think that we can do everything ourselves. We can control everything, and we don't therefore need any help. It's times like these we're at our weakest, whether it be during COVID, during a redundancy, during some really physical tough times, that we realize that we can't do everything ourselves, that we do depend on someone higher than us who has created us. And in those moments, that's when I've grown most. So that's where firstly where I counted God, but also as a Christian where I've grown most. And one particular time of hardship for me was losing my 28-year-old brother in 2016. My brother's death definitely gave me a reality check for my life and also for this life in itself. I don't know when I'm going to die, but I know where I'm going, and that brings me great assurance. And also, not knowing when I'm going to die, I really want to use the time I've been given here on this life for a really strong purpose. For me, that was sort of a moment in my life where I realised that God has given me gifts and talents, and for running that meant that I actually wanted to train. So I went under a coach and really wanted to excel for the purposes that He has given me, these gifts and talents. So still with the mindset that this is not what defines me, but with the mindset that this is what God has given me, and I don't want them to go to waste. Jesus is my rock. He's my redeemer. That night that my brother died, I remember there's this one hymn. It's called Trust and Obey, and just was singing that on repeat like into the night. And I look back on that moment in my life, and I do now see the bigger picture of it. But in times where it is really hard to see that, He is someone that we can trust and depend on.